everybody, this is Christine with Cocoa Daisy, and I am going to show you some more stamping ideas using the stamp sets that were offered along with the new chapter release. So you can find these two stamp sets, and I've got a couple of them off. I got the daisy off because I'm going to show you something. These were in the Traveler's Notebook Memory Keeping Kit and the Modern Memory Keeping Kit of the new chapter collection. You can find these on the website. If you go to past kits and you look in the new chapter collection, you can find these two. And then I also have the cute little birds and this amazing alpha, which I'm using on everything. These two you can find if you go to the Daisy store and the stamps section. Those are both in there. And all four of these stamps are still available. So you can go and get those and do any of the techniques that I'm going to show you. What I've done is I've taken all four of these stamp sets and I've mixed them all together to show you a lot of fun ways that you can layer and use these stamp sets. I like to show you different ways to use them, to think outside the box a little bit and to get a lot more mileage from your stamps. So that is what I'm going to show you. And these, obviously you can just keep running wild with it, but I wanted to show you a couple of ideas. And I'm not going to go through and show you, like, I'm not going to stamp all of them. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to tell you what I did with them, and then I'll stamp just a couple to show you. I'm sorry that this wasn't done sooner. As a lot of you may know, we are having our bathroom redone, so it's been very noisy here, but there's nobody here right now. So I'm going to try and sneak this in before the noise begins again. And that's also why I thought I would not try and sit and stamp all of these, but rather just kind of go through them all with you and show you. I'm going to show you this daisy layering technique a minute, because that is kind of a good way to start. So one of the things on this stamp set that was in the Modern Memory Keeping Kit, you'll notice there are two daisies, but there are 3 layers to each daisy. So there's this shape and then there's this shape. Each one has 3 layers. So there's an outline, a fill-in, and then the middle of the flower. So you have the outline, the fill-in, and then the middle of the flower. So I'm going to show you a fun way to do that. Now, what I usually do is I start with the fill-in, because it's just easier to do the fill-in and then the outline over top of it. So I'm just going to ink up the fill-in and put that down. And then I'm going to take the outline, and I'm going to use black on that one, and then I'm going to find, now I'm doing this kind of from far away, so if I don't get it perfect, and actually imperfect is kind of a fun way to do it too. It looks a little offset, so that can be done on purpose actually. And then I have the little middle. I'm going to take that off, put that on, and I'm going to do that in a pretty yellow. Like that. So that's how you layer those, and that's how they're designed, and that's what they're meant to do. So you would do the same thing with this smaller daisy, and you can see that I did that here. So here's a smaller one and here's a larger one. Couple of different things that you can do then with the daisies is you can create just white daisies using just the outline and the middle. Or you can create a whole border with them. You can do them in different colors. You can create a whole border. Another thing that you can do is you can use just the fill-in as the background to stamp a saying over top, which is what I've done here. So I've taken the "Trust the Timing of Your Life," this beautiful script, and just stamped it over top, so that creates a pretty background. I've done that with a number of them. The fun squiggle stamps, if you see, I've stamped those in a couple of different colors and then stamped sayings over top of them as well. So that's another way that you can layer those, just by using a lighter color ink and then stamping your saying in a nice black or a charcoal gray. you can get that same effect of layering those. So those are the flowers. Those are things that you can do with the flowers. Oh, a couple other things that you can do with the squiggles is you can create a border by stamping off the edge of your page like I did here. You can take the lines and you can stamp those under a saying, so it looks like you scribbled, you know, just to kind of look at that, or to add some texture to a saying, you can put it underneath. The other thing you can do, if you take one of the scribbles, and I'll show you this a minute. I'm going to take the small one here. If you take one of the scribbles, that is the line, you can actually create a pattern. And one of the ways that you can do that is by stamping and then stamping again. And as you go, it gets lighter and lighter. So you can create a fun effect doing that. You can then turn your stamp and create another layer, and it almost creates like a plaid. So there's a lot of different ways. Just by continuing that ink, it almost gives you an ombre effect, which is really pretty, and you can create patterns, all kinds of patterns with these. So you can see what I did that here a little bit, and then here what I did, once I ran out of the coral ink, then I inked the same stamp with the yellow and went in and created a rainbow, and you could just keep going and going. So that's another fun way to use those scribble stamps. And then something else that you can do kind of in a rainbow effect is this pretty little chevron arrow. I did the same thing here. I just continued, I stamped with my yellow, then I lightly tapped it on the coral, and then continued on with the darker coral, and I created kind of a fun border with that. I added it to one of the sayings here, and one of the sayings here. So that's another, oh, and another one there. So there's so many different combinations that you can do with these, especially when you work with the sayings and icons and symbols and backgrounds. There's so many fun things you can do. And then this one, this was something that was fun. Speaking of stamping and then restamping, you can create a really fun effect like I did here with this collage. What I did is I took this That's Life stamp, and then I stamped it off of the page. So I stamped it on just a sheet, like just a test sheet, because I wanted it lighter. Now, if you had gray inks, you could do that as well, but this just makes it a little easier. So what I did, so you can see I stamped my first one on this test page, and then I go in and I just stamp a bunch of them all around. And I keep doing that and layering them until I get the effect that I want, or as many as I want. And then when I'm done, when I feel like I've got enough in the space that I have, then I'll go in and I'll do my last one in the full-on darkest of that color. So in this case, I'm using the black, so that one stands out the most. And then you get that great effect of kind of this jumbled collage. And it's a great way to use words and to use quotes to create basically an image, or not really a die cut, but like an artwork image, as opposed to you're creating art out of the words, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love typography and I love fonts. So that's one of the things that I love to do. So that is another way to use that particular stamp. And now we can go into the little birds. So the little birds are so adorable. And this little guy that is holding this little card here, or this little piece of paper, that the sayings are meant to be stamped inside of that. So any of these sayings in this stamp set will fit in there. And you can see my example of it here. But you can also fit this That's Little Life in there. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out on this stamp set there's a bunch of these small little bits of flowers or greenery or grass. And you can see what I've done with those, how I've layered. So we have the bird with the little saying, and then adding the little bits of flower or grass next to it. How cute is that? That would be adorable on a card. And then I did the same thing with the little birds using, this was one of my favorite stamps, this Worry Less, Smile More. So you can see that I have this little guy sitting next to it. How cute is that with the little flower? And then I have one of the birds flying underneath. And then on this one, there was a tiny little bird in this same stamp set here, and I just have him next to it. I did the same thing. I stamped this review and I added the little bird here. So it looks like he's looking up at the review. And then you can do the same sort of thing over here with the review with the larger bird. And then there was a few birds that I stamped here with this other saying, the trust the timing of your life. I thought that script looked especially pretty next to the line work on the birds. So there's a couple other ways that you can use that saying as well. Then another thing that you can do with the birds, I mean, there's so many things that you could do with these. So the large skinny alphas, and these are so amazing because you can stamp long titles on, I'm using it in my daisy planner, I'm using it on my traveler's notebook, in my simple dory. You can stamp really long titles with these. I just love them. And so I just stamped the word, just to give you an example, I stamped the word hi with these, and then I added the cute little birdie sitting down, and then I added one of the flowers on the other side. And again, how adorable would that be on a tag or on a card? There's so many fun things you could do with all of these stamps. This is just a few examples. I hope that you enjoyed this. And again, I'm sorry that I didn't go through and stamp all of these with you. I just wanted to find this quiet moment so I could at least show you some examples of that. And I will do this again because I really enjoy this. This to me is so creative and so fun to try and stretch and find ideas on how to combine all of these and give you ideas. And I hope you look at your stamps in a whole new way.